Well, Charles, if the first several dozen times you don't succeed, you got to keep trying.
I guess so, and I'm delighted to do so, actually. I think it's in some ways lucky that we got the chance to do this because so much has happened since we tried to do it yesterday.
That's true. We're going to make a little lemonade today for people who were watching yesterday, thwarted by some technical problems. And I don't want to go into a detailed description, Charles, but I do want our viewers to be confident that anytime something goes wrong, I take pretty strong measures to try to learn what the cause is and counteract it. And without getting, as I said, into too many details, I just want everybody to sort of understand that doing what we're doing right now requires a really large number of complicated devices and software and outside services that I do not control to all work in concert simultaneously, and even a slight disruption to sometimes the tiniest things can introduce problems that are fatal to the broadcast. And there were a lot of times that I thought I knew what was going on, but I really only had part of the picture. And the reason why I'm even talking about this at all is not just to set people's minds at ease with regard to watching this broadcast, but to go back to what I've often referred to as this Karate Kid principle, where sometimes applying ourselves and our thought process to one type of problem can be helpful in solving another problem. And I just want people to be very, very cautious about jumping to conclusions and thinking that they know the answer to a problem or have the solution to a question. Even sometimes when it seems like you might, there could still be some sort of reason hiding in there. But we're going to talk some more about Tucker Carlson. He made an appearance last night on Twitter, Charles.
Yeah, I think actually the reaction is funny. In my life, if there's an easy way to do it, that's not the way I do it. I do it the Ortel way, which often is a lot more complicated, but that's just how life ends up. So the easy way, back in 2016, late in May, Tucker convened a group of about 30 people at the Daily Caller, offices, maybe 10 Daily Caller people and 20 outsiders, roughly, to spend, I think it was 2.5 days, principally talking about our work on the Clinton Foundation, the team of us that were working on it, with some folks from the Daily Caller, Richard.
Right.
Well, prior to then, Richard had done a lot of work, and really good work that I'm going to link to and go over and back.
Oh my God! It's doing it again! I didn't solve the problem. I'm to my wit's end with this problem. Holy crap! Holy crap.
We're about to point out that
I'm in a rage. That is unbelievable. Please continue, Charles.
So I was saying with Tucker Carlson and my Substack that there was a lot of work done in 15 and 16 in particular that was published in various formats, both print, radio, TV, and otherwise. And I'm going to go back and organize all that so subscribers, free and paid to my Substack, can go and see a lot of this material, which I allege, and I like the way you say this, upon information and belief, was material that likely triggered the outgoing Obama administration and the presumed incumbent Hillary Clinton administration to spike the football and do everything they could to obstruct a real investigation, not simply into the Clinton Foundation, but into all the crooked, politically connected foundations, whether it's the McCain Institute, the Biden crap, whatever they call it, the Beau Biden thing, the Clinton Foundation, the rising Barack Obama Foundation in 2014. I think there was a lot of effort, and there remains a lot of continuing effort to make sure that no regulators kill the goose that lays the golden egg. That is to say, the process by which politically connected insiders scam money through their poorest charities that are not regulated, that don't report properly, and that are abusing the fine tradition of tax-exempt organizations that cropped up after the income tax was imposed in the United States of America. So
wait a minute, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. When they introduced income tax, it's possible that this concept of crooked tax-exempt charities was sort of hidden from us and kept as a secret that insiders could use to do the types of things that you have been uncovering for the past several years.
It's not only possible. In the last time that the system of private foundations was reformed, I believe was in 1969, from memory, and I don't have my notes in front of me, obviously. But what had happened, initially income taxes were set at very low level, very high amounts relative to the incomes of the time, and at very low percentages. But quickly following Roosevelt, the last disastrous Democrat, and I think Biden is accomplishing more disasters in a shorter time than Roosevelt did. What happened is the top marginal tax rate went up to 90%, and the government scammed a lot more money off the incomes of the people. And so the very rich came up with this idea of donating to their private foundations, taking massive tax deductions for doing so,
right,
and then subsidizing their lifestyles, those of themselves and their extended families and mistresses and other hangers-on, through their private foundations. So there was a huge hue and cry over that. And in 1969, that's when I think the provisions were introduced to ban the type of excesses that I allege are being perpetrated by the Clinton Foundation and perhaps by the Obama Foundation and many other politically connected foundations.
Now let me pause you for a second, Charles, because we're talking again about one of the core principles of this show, not a Lincoln Continental, but the Clinton Foundation, and I have a very important announcement to make, and it's another reason why I wanted to come out and do this show this morning. We're going to continue talking about Tucker Carlson and this very important topic. We're going to do that in the First Amendment Forum. People can join us there on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I believe I've just discovered another thing about this problem that's going to help me permanently squash it. But the announcement that I wanted to make, Charles, is that you and I were on a secret mission the past couple days that we've been very adept at hiding.
We were? I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
Well, I'm talking about it now because we're ready to release the fruits of that secret mission tonight.
Great.
Well, it's going to be released in two parts, actually, Charles, because we have interviewed a really important individual, FBI whistleblower Nate Kane. Would you call him FBI whistleblower or Clinton Foundation whistleblower?
I'd say both, really. It's not only the Clinton Foundation that he was exposing, but he's exposing the FBI and the failures
of criminality.
Of probably the largest criminal conspiracy ever executed in life.
And this interview with him, Charles, I mean, you were there, obviously, and I think that you will agree, it was mind-blowing.
Right.
And as someone who's now watched it several times, going through, putting it together and preparing it for broadcast, which was a Herculean effort to get it done quickly, which I needed to do because of all the other things that are happening, and also because it's so timely and important. He's running for Congress, and Nate is a really fascinating guy. He told us things that have never been discussed before in any interview.
Right.
And so it's going to come out tonight first at 8 p.m. tonight for sponsors.
Good.
Because Nate said some things during the interview that are definitely kick you off YouTube style.
Right.
So what we're going to do is tonight at 8 p.m., sponsors of Crowdsource the Truth will be able to go to subscribestar.com or patreon.com or odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. And at 8 p.m. tonight, an uncensored director's cut of the entire interview will premiere for the first time ever. Sponsors of Crowdsource the Truth will have an opportunity to hear this information that nobody other than Charles, myself, and Nate have heard. And then tomorrow, The interview will be released in a YouTube-friendly format with
Right.
just a couple of things to prevent it from getting dinged,
That's great.
but that's coming out tonight.
Yeah, and I think, what do you often say? Luck is a residue of design.
Yes.
I think that I started to say that with Tucker's being booted unceremoniously out of Fox, which I think did happen based on my reading of it.
Yeah.
I mentioned that the Ortel way is more complicated. It would have been much easier had he stayed at Fox, perhaps, to continue what we were doing and let him do what he was doing, and maybe our paths would intersect.
Well, why easier?
It might, because Fox was until Monday a very powerful operation.
Don't you think he's going to have more reach now?
I'm saying, but it would have been easier before the split. If the split hadn't happened, maybe it would have been easier for him and for us. But now it's happened, and I think the reaction to the split is so astounding, the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
If I were on the board of Fox, I would shit can Susan Scott. I'd fire the Murdoch family. I mean, the young kids out of there.
You were talking about this yesterday from the standpoint of the board of directors and the investors.
Right.
Hang on.
Go.
I think this guy's going to try to kill us.
God, Jesus, what an asshole this guy
Totally. Got a work site to get
is.
to.
Idiot. He's like, oh, I had a big truck.
It would hurt. But you were talking about it from the standpoint of investors, and I think that's important because everybody is talking about this from the standpoint of a Twitter pundit, or
Right.
either a Tucker lover or a Tucker hater.
Right. Well, so to put some detail on that, the various pieces of what used to just be Fox are now. One is called God Almighty. One business is called Fox, and the other one's called News. One is primarily print media. The other, and I think publishing, and the other is
TV
and related media. So normally, if you have a publicly traded company where you have a substantial shareholder like the Murdoch family, or however they route their investments, you have to be, the bigger you are as an investor, the more careful you should be about running afoul of insider rules. In other words, you can't, because you have 39%, which is a lot of money, or in Fox or whatever.
And your sons and daughters.
And you have this son, who's two sons who've married these crazy women, who, by public accounts, you can't suddenly say, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shift. Yeah, we'll become a banana republic together. I'm going to shift the focus of Fox, like they did with Coke. And I'm going to say, you know what? We don't want to appeal to conservatives, and we don't want to break the mold here and challenge with accepted narratives. No, we want to be just like CNN. Or worse than CNN. And in essence, I think under the reign of the Sons, that's really what's happening. You think of the number of hosts who've been bounced out of there, and I don't know about the insider situation. If Bill O'Reilly was molesting people and other people, that's obviously not something you could tolerate. But the number of investigative journalists who have been bounced out of that place is astounding. And you're left now with Tucker's departure with a husk. You've either got people who I think are getting long in the tooth, or you've got people who are just basically not that good, and the network has become less than watchable. And so if that is due to the influence of the Sons and of other people who really should not hold the positions they now have because they're flunkies for the Murdoch family, then there is an argument, a good argument, that an outside activist fund could accumulate shares in one or both of them and say, I'm going to mount a proxy fight, I'm going to demand an accounting of any Murdoch family payments, and I want those remitted back to the company. I want to demand, what happened to trigger the departure of Tucker Carlson, what really happened with this Dominion settlement. Is the Murdoch family wasting corporate assets of the shareholding public? And
right.
Such an attempt, these activist funds, many of them have oodles of money.
But wait a minute, let me ask you a question about that, because are you saying that an activist fund would have to challenge BlackRock, and isn't that like saying...
No. BlackRock is just one of the investors. So what will happen in this is a lot like what happened with Twitter. So what happens is an activist, and I'm just making up a name, Dan Loeb, or using a name.
Was Elon Musk considered an activist investor?
Yeah, in that case he was an activist as well. But take somebody who's got a fund. Musk doesn't have a fund.
Right.
So the activist investors, they would look at this, they do the work from the outside, get no internal information, and they'd make a judgment. How much is Fox and maybe News, how much are they worth today, in the crisis mode? What steps could a team take to fix this? And then if you went through either selling off everything, or selling off pieces and fixing things, how much might your fund investors get after you do all this? And if there's a big difference, you could see somebody raid Fox and News. And
that's the GOTS gets principle.
It has gets. Yeah.
Has gets, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, Charles, look at this.
Is that your shoe?
Your size, yes. That's big.
Those are Shaquille O'Neal size.
Right. Well, there's a lot of questions even about what you're discussing right now, and certainly I always am happy to fill the role of the uninformed layperson asking the types of questions hopefully that a lot of people in the audience might have. In just about 15 minutes, we're going to do the full broadcast in the First Amendment forum, because we've got to talk about Tucker. I've learned a lot of things about Abby Grossman. I've been looking at her lawsuit. Grossberg, sorry. I've been looking at her lawsuit. I've been looking at her resume.
Thin.
Well, forget about thin. I think that we've got some social engineering and some lawfare to talk about, and that's going to be on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and Subscribestar and Patreon.
That's good.
In just a few minutes. Oh yeah, look, they've been boasting about these Mustang GT Mach-E's. That's an incredibly fast car, like Tesla level.
Is it really?
Wow. Unnecessary for the cops and a waste of money, in my opinion. You can't drive that fast in New York City.
Yeah. I think it would be wiser to have more beat cops.
Yes.
Actually bringing thugs in line. So just back on Tucker for a second.
Yeah.
You and I have been doing this now for a long time, and I think we came to the conclusion, independently or maybe together, that there is a uniparty, and it masquerades as two entities that are in opposition, when in reality they're just going along to get along, to keep the process continuing, whereby the overlords, the puppet masters at the top, they continue to grift in the way they want to grift. They steal money from their crooked foundations. They scam off-market contracts from various governments around the world. They keep us in a state of perpetual discord. And we just eat cake to the extent we can afford it. We watch sports events, we listen to concerts, we go online. We have these idiots walking around the city who are stuck into their phone, walking in the front of traffic everywhere. And instead of kicking back, as Tucker observes in that very short but effective video that's gone viral. Over 10 million,
16 million views.
16 million, wow. As somebody with some wag was noting on Twitter, 16 million views on this video is far more than the total viewership remaining at Fox since his departure.
They said it went down 47%.
Massively.
Right.
And massively in the key demographic of people. I think I use 25 to 54. I think they may use 18 to 49. But yeah, so Tucker is right. When people say to me, we want bipartisan cooperation and public-private partnerships, I say, fuck all of you. That is not what we want.
That's the entree to stealing this money, is the public-private partnership, because then they use an NGO in place of government and steal a ton of money.
Right. No, what we need to do, and as you pointed out at the beginning of the broadcast, life until it ends is a continuing process where you can either choose to try to learn from your mistakes, or you can let's go that way, up
All
Broadway. Or fail to recognize that you're living in blissful ignorance. That's where I think a lot of Americans, people around the world, are living in blissful ignorance, and not so blissful, given recent developments with inflation and taxes and, potential nuclear wars affecting us.
Not bliss.
Not bliss.
Oh.
What?
No, we're all right.
So,
this thing is up for sale, Charles, the
What?
Flatiron building.
really? The one behind us?
Maybe you should pick that up.
No. I mean, you keep asking me to think about things that are like the polar opposite of what I would want to do. Invest in New York City. I don't want to invest a penny in this place.
But you get all this.
All this? And,
Yes.
and do I get the shit as well? Do I get all the thugs?
What's it going to take to put you in some premium?
AstroTurf?
Yeah,
Fake AstroTurf even?
yeah. That's premium.
Primo and premium.
So we're going to walk right now to Fox News headquarters. I want people to, for a moment, just consider the lead up to what has happened here. The Dominion lawsuit, there is a separate, who's the other voting company suing them?
Forget.
But there's a separate multi-billion-dollar lawsuit coming up against Fox, and it's just a week ago or something that there was this big organized protest outside of Fox when the Dominion lawsuit began. I did a video, I don't think you were with me, but I did a video asking, is Fox entering the Dominion of lawfare?
Right.
And it was very strange to me that the signs that the people protesting were holding had a certain kind of
all printed.
homogeny to them, and
Right.
it just looked very, very planned to me. And I've become extremely familiar with lawfare. As I look at these lawsuits, I cannot help but wonder if there's not a component of that going on right now.
Well, if you think about the power that Fox exhibited in the 15-16 timeframe, I mean, I happened to spend, I think I was on maybe 35 times, roughly, in the period May through December 2016. Sometimes, 3 times a week, that kind of stuff. And I watched with my own eyes as stories really got analyzed pretty well, but much of the talent that was there at Fox in 2015 to 16 is gone or neutered. And I think the project to dirty Fox up and to...
Is that Zelensky?
You see that Jay Powell took a call
It's him.
from... No.
I'm kidding, obviously.
You saw that Jay Powell took a call from Russian pranksters
Yeah.
who pretended they were Zelensky.
And they said he's going to raise interest rates again.
Twice, yeah. That's
So,
hilarious.
isn't that bad?
Yeah. I think at this stage, all bets are off. We'll talk about the economic stuff in a little bit, because that's a whole big topic of bad news.
We've got just one more minute until
Yeah.
we make our transition to the First Amendment Forum.
Well, I think it's fitting that we're about to do that in front of the leading Italian toilet bowl company, Porcelanosa. Right? How fitting that it's right here in Madison Park. And, we've got the man who can't do a press conference without knowing the questions in advance following the Hillary Clinton debate tradition.
He had the picture of the woman who was going to
and
ask.
the question.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in depth. But this is a gigantic shit show under Joe Biden. It's a gigantic shit show, and it's not just Joe Biden. It's also Barack Obama. It's the Clintons and the Bushes as well.
And it's BYOTP,
Bring your own
toilet paper, to the show.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to be back in just 5 minutes to continue this conversation. Maybe we'll even share a little bit of information about what Nate Kane was discussing, because it kind of weaves into this. I don't want to give it away. It's a fascinating interview. He's an amazingly compelling guy in so many ways. And, now having watched it, as I said, several times through the edit, people are going to really enjoy this. And not only enjoy it, Charles, it's going to be
epic.
Not just epic, but it's going to be a reference for a lot of other research, I think. So people are going to make sure they want to see that tonight. Don't miss that. There's some weird gravel going on right there. Yeah. But we'll be back in just a few minutes. If you're not yet a sponsor, become one now. It's a great way to help support the show and keep these types of special missions, interviewing really important people like Nate Kane, alive. Join us on odyssey.com/@ crowdsource 60 better than to be.
Well, I guess it can't go down on the road, so
You should be walking the bicycle on the sidewalk. But odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and Patreon and Subscribestar. We will be back momentarily. Thanks to everybody who sponsors the show. It's just nothing but people riding skateboards. These are all 50-year-old people riding bicycles,